Ben, welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for doing this, man. I
No,
really appreciate it.
no worries.
So not a lot of people will necessarily have heard of you because you weren't out there in the pro strongman scene. You have really done some incredible things recently, and I am, man, you caught my attention. I'm super excited to see kind of where you're going to go from here. So talk me through a little bit of your kind of your strongman career, because you've actually been doing really quite well for a decent amount of time now. So
Yeah,
so kind of take me through kind of how you got involved and how long it's taken you to get to where you are.
yeah. So my first year of competing was 2012. Um, I was I won a first timers comp called Champions of the Future, and then I went on to do my Wales Strongest Man, which was I come fifth that year, and that was my first one. And I've done that with Rick Foster, who's the owner of Strong. So we kind of got into it together. But um, I never really saw it as anything but a hobby. It was just something to do. I've always been fairly strong within my group of peers, and I thought it was just quite fun to do. So I started doing them. Then you get this bit of a bug that you need to do more strongman stuff. At the time I was competing, I was at the time when I first started, I was well into my kayaking. I was going all over the world kayaking and everything like that. And then it just over gradual time, kayaking went down there and strongman came up. But all the time, I would say up until my third win of World's Strongest Man, which was this year. No, it wasn't, because it was. Yeah, I probably, I never thought of myself as a strongman. I never put Ben Badger Brunning strongman on my Facebook. I never sold that. I told the people that I'd done strongman, but I never was a strongman. It was just,
It's
it was
just a
a
hobbyist
sport,
thing.
a hobby, yeah.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I done that, and then um, and then you kind of you go to Britain's, and then you got this big arena around you, and then fans cheering your name, and it hits something at home. You're like, this is more than just a hobby now. This is something surreal. Um, and I kind of wish I had that feeling a few years back, because um, it's only since winning Wales for the third time that I thought, yeah, I'm going to give it everything. So I started sacrificing time, money, and everything. Everything now is just strongman, and I'm trying to get to the point now that strongman's going to be my job. So it's kind of annoying that it took so long, but at the same time, I've got a really good basis of strength. I haven't peaked too soon. That I've got loads of injuries. So I think in that sense, that is a good thing that I took my time to get to this level. Um, but then another sense, I could have been here a lot sooner, but I'll probably be dragging around a few, hanging off limbs or something, so
And that's
some kind of.
really interesting that you say that. Do you think that that's kind of something that's quite common within the sport of strongman, is that you see a lot of guys that are kind of trying so hard to get to the pro scene too quickly, and actually they're not letting their bodies develop enough in time to handle that strain and handle that load, and then when they go into competitions, they're pulling their back, they're tearing discs, hamstrings, and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And nowadays, I don't think it needs to be competition. You just see online that, I don't know, for example, someone on my level, Aaron Page, you see online that his deadlift is just gone. So you think, I'm going to do that. I'm going to match my deadlift, and then you try and then that's when you start breaking yourself. So you need to have a constant training regime. So your level of strength should just be raising like that. What you see sometimes if people come onto the scene, burst onto the scene, they do that with their strength, and then suddenly they're gone. Where they're gone. Like you hear stories of people going, "Oh, do you know so and so? he was a really good strongman. Well, where is he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
he's
he's
gone.
like 34 years old or something like that, and
Yeah,
he's retired because
yeah.
he's torn both hammies. That's yeah, that's it's really interesting, isn't it? So
That's some good. Now I
pardon?
said I'm not injured.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
that's the nice
Praise the
way.
Lord. So,
Yeah.
have you had someone like been doing your programming behind the scenes? Do you do your own programming? And if so, how do you kind of
Um,
auto-regulate that?
yeah. So I went and done. I went and signed on with Delroy McQueen, and he kind of like proper switched my mind about how to train and stuff. Because before him, it was I'd pick a number, and if I didn't achieve it, then that would be a waste of a session. And he kind of like changed my mindset of like, don't really pick numbers, pick like reps, and then get up to a max, and then drop down and do some reps at a percentage of that max type thing. So really, and that really changed how I started to train myself. Um, I had some funding issues, and then so I couldn't carry on training with him. But I trained at a group called Big Dogs, and you got Dale Peters, who's Britain's master, and he's got numerous titles. I couldn't even tell you what they are. Then you got Gareth Wallace, who's just been in it for so many years. We've got Sean McRae, who's the most book smart, technical person I know. And then on the sideline, you got like Rick Foster, who's just his supplement knowledge is unreal. So you kind of use all these together to program yourself, but it's not. I couldn't take all this credit. I wouldn't say I program myself. It's a group collaboration really.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So obviously, you've kind of we talk about how your strength is kind of gradually peaking and kind of you've recently burst onto the scene. So obviously there's going to be a place of the right people asking you to come to the right events, and obviously the fantastic opportunity you were given at Europe's Strongest Man. If people don't necessarily know, Ben, how long a notice were you given before you were asked to compete at Europe's?
So it was the World's Strongest Man tour.
Yeah,
What I got was it was 3 weeks notice, so it's 2 weeks of training.
that's
That
insane.
straight, yeah, that came straight after. So the reason I got that is because we're official strongman games European champion,
That was it. Yeah,
and
sorry. Yeah.
because I won that, then I got which I won that because of World's Strongest Man. But you can just apply online. You can just get invited to it. So doing that, Darren Sadler and Colin Bryce were there, and they saw how well I'd done on that one. So they just went, "Come and give this a go." So I'm like, "Okay, sure, I'll do that." So yeah, went and gave it a go, and you, I wanted to be fifth, sixth, and then I'd be like, people start recognizing me, and then they show that I'm good enough to mix with these guys, and then that day happened, and I walked away second, and it's just exploded.
And literally, you fucking changed everything that night.
Yeah,
I remember because, dude, I watched the live stream of it, and I remember just sitting there, just going, "Holy shit, Ben is just on fire tonight!" And it was like, mate, your stars just like aligned. You came out of nowhere. Everyone had zero expectation. No one really
even
knew
myself.
who you were, and you just got after it. And every single event, it's like you came back. You're a little bit stronger. You're a little bit more focused. And I kind of watching and following your stuff. That kind of tends to be your kind of forte, isn't it? It's kind of you get quite worked up with the first event, and you might have a little wobble there, and then you just
Yeah,
really
but then
you just
yeah,
get into your own little regime, and you get into your own little circuit, and then you just it's like it's
yeah.
almost like you need to get comfortable into it. How does it feel from your end? Is it like a nerve thing? What is it?
So um, I've changed my point of view in my head, and his strongman, I would say 80% of it is mind games. If you can trick yourself, you're halfway there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's brilliant. So in my head, from as far as you can see yourself. So World's Strongest Man, I had months to train for that. So for months, I was visualizing myself winning every single event. I proper going through it in my head, visualizing the win, visualizing holding up the trophy, visualizing absolutely everything. So when you get there in your mind, you already won. So I would hate to see what happened if I didn't win. I'd probably cry a lot. But in my mind, I already won. But so with that, you go there and you got a bit of calm about you. But at the same time, my whole mindset is I know what I can do in the gym. If I can beat that, then I won. So if I went out to the world and trained everything, and I said, I know I can do that, and then I beat myself. If someone beats me, they deserve it. There's nothing I can do about it. There's no changing the stars, is there?
You can't ask for any more than your personal best. That's like kind of something that my dad always said. Like you can only. It's like that whole cliche thing of you can only ever do your best, and it is. It as much as it fucking sucks on the day, it's true. Like you can.
But with that, so that's going into Wales. I thought, you got people like Mark Jeans came back, and he's always going to be one of what I'll be worrying about. You got Gavin Bilton, you got Matt Diamond, you got loads of people there. Even Dale, who I train with, I'll never run him out the books. But it's just you know what you can do. You beat yourself, and then you go in there with a bit of calm because you're just like, no matter what happens, I'm going to thrash my PBs in the gym, and then if someone beats me, they deserve that title. So there's no putting pressure on yourself. And then you've got people who start putting pressure on themselves. I saw it at the World Tour. Loads of people were doing interviews and saying how they're going to win, they're going to do this, and I'm there like, I'm just here.
I'm just enjoying myself, guys.
Yeah, and going into Wales, I never gave it a big one. Like I knew I was capable of the win, and if anything, that's the title I want the most because it's the one I chased for since 2012. So I knew I was capable of the win, but so are other people. So there's no point going, I'm going to thrash it, I'm going to do this. You might get loads of people following you on Instagram, but when you don't do it, you look like a tosser.
It's true. It's really strange. There is kind of like this kind of ethos that you kind of have to put yourself out there and you have to say like, I'm going to win this, and you have to state your claim. And it gets to a point where it's like, well, I've heard 7 people today all say the same thing. Like, I'm sorry, guys, but there's only one fucking trophy. So I'm sorry, but one of you is walking away with it. But
yeah. But, if that's how people need to motivate themselves, then carry on. But I think what would get in my head, if I told people that I would win and I didn't, and it could be a random in the street, if I saw him again, I'd be like, oh my God, can't look at you.
Yeah, I know. I guess to an extent it's you're holding yourself accountable, but then also psychologically, if you don't get that, then also that kind of fucks you up as well from a psychological standpoint. But that's the thing, like, again, you're very cool, calm and collected, and I like that kind of like that methodology of, well, if I can smash it in the gym, then I can smash it when I get out there. And that's actually something that's kind of like an ethos that myself and Rob Frampton worked with my training for a long time. It was like, train hard, compete easy. If you can bust ass in the gym and you can smash your PBs and you can actually hit the rep range that you want to with a comp weight, then you know that when you walk up on the day, even if someone has matched that, you're like, okay, well, I know I can at least do that, so let's see how it goes. And you can just relax into it a little bit more.
It's even with the world, it's not always the case, which is a shame. But you go to comps, and I like to be at the point that I know I can do all the weight, so the weight's fine for me, and it's just a case of how many reps this and how many reps that.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, yoke, say it's a 400 kilo yoke. I know I can do a 400 kilo yoke. So there's no need for me to train heavy. There's need for me to work on my speed.
Mm-hmm.
So go in there not really knowing what you can do. You just know you can do it. So even come up to the Worlds, 2 weeks notice, I just trained the events and got used to them. I didn't even touch the weight. I went up to the first week I went up to just off the weight on all the events and done a little bit just to see
Just
if I
testing the waters, yeah.
so when I got there, I weren't fucked. Yeah, I'm hoping I'm past the point of going to a comp where the week before I had to pull the comp weight because I really didn't know if I could do it.
Yeah. Which is that's often the case, especially at grassroots. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you kind of said about Worlds there, are you kind of referring to the fact that there was this big thing that Worlds took absolutely forever to tell everyone what the weights were, and then even pretty much within 48 hours were changing, altering weights before you guys even stepped up onto the platform?
I didn't know anything, but it's a comp, and you go. It's Ultimate Strongman. You go to their comps, and sometimes the day will be changed, and and you go to little comps, and exactly the same. Wales, we had a change. We had just got rid of an event because we couldn't get a vehicle down to the stage. So it's you have to be basic. It's strongman. You have to be good all round. So if you, I know the thing of it is to train for a certain event, but why should you just train for 6 events to be good at those 6 events? If that needs to pay for someone else, you should, in theory, be good at that because you're a strong man, not a axle lifting man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, 100%.
Every single comp I've been to has changed some form or another. Even my missus has got a comp, the Queen of the North, and they said weather dependent, it'll be this or this. And I think that's brilliant. So you don't get there and go, oh, I've trained really hard in sandbags and now it's cake. So well, we told you.
Yeah.
It's like, but I don't know. Every comp changes. There's no need to.
But you're quite right in what you've said there. Is that it's nice because although, and I've been in enough Facebook groups to experience it firsthand. Like as much as people bitch and moan about these changes, and everyone wants to know, like, is the car deadlift front handles or side handles? Can I use wraps? Am I allowed figure of eights? Can I use? It's like just pick the fucking weight up and put it down again.
Yeah.
And that's it. If you can do it, then you have achieved that lift. And if you can't do it, then you need to work on that lift. And that's what I love about Strongman. It's just black and it's just white. There is no in between there. It's like, if you're good, you're good. And if you're not, you're not.
You can't cheat strong. Yeah, it's good. But like Dale was running a comp and people were messaging him, asking him the diameter of the bar that will be on the bike, and he's like, "What? Why would that even matter?"
That is phenomenal. You can imagine Brian Shaw doing that with his tape measure. But yeah, that's a little bit intense, isn't it? So I'm interested to hop back because earlier on you were talking about the fact that you had kind of gone all around the world with your kayaking. Now I didn't know anything about that. So in regards to your kayaking, was that what at like a national level you were at with that, and how does that work?
Kayaking's a bit different to strongman, so you can get onto the circuit and you can start doing downriver racing. You can start doing creek boating. You can start doing rodeo, but we just kayak for fun and worked. So we were teaching people. So we went out to, say, the Zambezi, and we would kayak for fun, and then when we run out of money, teach people, and then we'll kayak for fun, and when we run out of money, we'll teach people, and we lived in tents, and it's a bit slummish, but you're on the Zambezi, it doesn't matter, it's beautiful. Yeah, you've got to watch out for the snake, but it's it's absolutely brilliant. We went out to the Ganges and worked as a raft guide, and then on my days off we'd go off and find a river in the middle of a mountain somewhere, and it's just it's not really. You can get onto the circuit, but there's a lot of people who just don't even touch any form of event. they just go for fun.
Yeah, yeah. So when you do it kind of for fun, is this a case of that you have to go down certain like regulated rivers and stuff? Like, are there like kind of grading systems for things, so you're not having like beginners just stumble upon these kind
Yeah,
of like
so
super high grade?
there's a whole grading system going from grade 1 to 6, 6 being unrunnable. So grade 5 would be, or grade 5 plus would be like the top you'll go to. Um, every kayaker should know these systems and should know what they're capable of, but there's no regulations to it. If you just buy a kayak, we got a river just here, you can just go and kayak it, because you have to find your way onto it. You can't go past people's lands and stuff like that. But if you find your way onto the river, you can just go for it. There's no stopping you. Um, but obviously, you shouldn't, and cover my own back.
So it's really interesting because I feel like obviously everyone's pasts have certain impacts and carryovers obviously to strongman, and because strongman is such a multifaceted sport that you have so many different elements in the fact of your mobility and your static and the different shapes and sizes of the implements, and it suits different body types massively differently each different event. Obviously, like we see a lot of people that come over from, like we get people come over from powerlifting, from like contact sports like myself, like rugby, athletics. Don't know of any other kayakers that have come across. So like, do you feel, obviously I'm thinking about the motion of kayaking, and it's super back shoulder dominant and very, very grip and arm heavy, I would have thought. So what kind of carryover do you think that gave you coming into strongman?
Kayaking's all body really. You use a lot of hips and legs, much more than you would think so.
Okay.
Because every time you paddle, you push with your foot, so then you're keeping your boat straight and flying through. Otherwise, you just start kayaking like that. So you need to push with your feet as you're paddling forwards. So your hips and your legs come into a vast amount. But yeah, obviously your shoulders and your grip is immensely important. Otherwise, you lose your paddles constantly. Especially on like the White Nile, you get stuck in one of those stoppers and your paddle get ripped out of your hand. That's it. You're going for a swim, and if you go for a swim on the White Nile, you disappear for like 20, 30 seconds before you pop up. And yeah,
Jesus
that wasn't fun.
So I was going to say, have you had a few kind of close calls yourself in regards to that sort of stuff, where you're kind of bitten off more than you can chew?
Close call. I wouldn't say close calls, but moments when your ass starts twitching for sure. Yeah. I survived that many rivers.
Yeah. So, in regards to kind of coming away from that and coming into strongman, how big were you back then? Like, have you put on like surmountable size from then? Have you had to make a big transformation? Have you always been like just a bigger built guy your whole life?
I've always been a bigger built guy. I'm only 6'1", but I've always been a bigger built guy from the people who I was with. And then, so putting on size is a bit weird because it was just a hobby. I just got fat at one point before the muscle came into
Which
it.
I think happens a lot in strongman.
Yeah. It's a way to, if you call yourself a strongman, you're not fat, you're an athlete.
Oh, dude, you've said it. Yes, that has been officially put out on the internet. I'm so glad someone has finally said that. I've been thinking that in my head for so long. People just get fat and they're like, hey, I'm a strongman, it's cool. You're like, oh, no, you can't be saying that.
That's not the case anymore. The sport's changed.
100%.
Right? You've got to be fit. That's why I've started doing shitloads of fucking medleys and stuff. Because you can't keep up. You got to be fit now.
So why do you think that is? What do you think what do you think the big change was there?
I think it's just the look of people. I think like if you look at people now, say rugby, if you look at that 20 years ago, they just look like they walked out of a pub. And now they look like complete fucking athletes and monsters. You're like, fucking hell, I'd love to do that. I'd love to be part of that. And then you got kids and young adults wanting to be that because the way they look. And I think the same with strongman. It's you had your big muscly people, but on the scale of it, you had quite a lot of fat people. And now that's changing a lot. So you get more well-built the well-built people rather than
Yeah.
rotund people. I think to grow the sport, you need that kind of look, and you need people to start doing impressive stuff, which is carrying what looks like a heavy implement many times. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be heavy. Like we do a lot of stuff with logs, and it looks much more impressive than it is.
Well, I think it's the whole concept of that to an average Joe when you have like a Slater log, for example. They've never picked up a Slater's log in their life. If average Joe tried to mount that on their chest, they would fucking keel over and die. So the fact that you're lifting that is incredible anyway, and that in itself looks impressive. But what people don't then see is, oh, okay, have they got 5 plates on the end there? Have they got 6? Have they got 10? Have they got 12? To the average Joe, they don't know what that is. They don't care what that is. That could be 1 kilo plates. That could be 100 kilo plates. But when you see someone really fucking struggling, like carrying an anchor in their arms, and you go,
Yeah.
"Oh Jesus Christ, this is like a real life
Anchors
Aquaman."
are heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
All they know, but anchors are heavy.
Yeah,
And so I think stuff like that, and you just want the sport to look better than it has been. So like these shows like the World Tour in a big arena, fireworks going off, flames, big TV screen. The sport needs stuff like that because then people will want to be a part of it, and then the sport will grow bigger. It would be harder to get to the world. It's much harder because the sport will be much bigger. But you need stuff like that to make it better. But also, I do think it's a lot about the look of the people because you're trying to influence the younger generation to get into the sport. And if we're all, and I'm allowed to say it because I've been one, if we're all just big fat fatties, it's not going to promote the sport very well. So
yeah, 100%. That's really cool. I'm really glad that you've kind of spoken about that. It's a really, really interesting topic. So, do you feel like this was the right move for the sport, and do you think that it's got the attention that it kind of needed to kind of, because I think we can all kind of admit that strongman for probably like the past, well, it's really started to pick up traction, and I would say probably like the past like 5-10 years. Before that, it was very, very stagnant, and it was very, very niche. And if you enjoyed it, like conveniently you speak to people now, and apparently everyone watched World's Strongest Man with their dad when they were a kid, but the actual people that watched it was a very small number.
yeah. I think it at its peak, didn't it? Back in like the Jeff Cates era, and because you speak to any British person, they know Jeff Cates, they know Bill Kazma, and then.
And you go, try and name someone else that isn't Eddie Hall outside of that, and then you just watch their face go.
Terry Holland, okay, he's another name, But it's just like, So I think it is the correct move because you're making more householdy names. So I think what's brilliant is official strongman. I've been chatting to Gus, and he's just like, if you want me to come and film, just give me a holler. I'll come and film, and I'll put you out there, and then you share it. You do this. You keep all this. Like I'll send you all the pictures, all the stuff. You just share it. Keep sharing. Because if the sport gets bigger, he'll have more work. So what benefits me will benefit him, and it will benefit the sport. And as much as it worked for me selling myself. People need to sell themselves, but not just that. It needs to work with the sport. It can't just be, I'm great, full stop. It needs to be, I'm great, I do strongman, blah, 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 blah. This is how I got into it. This is where you can go. And then, people need to sell the sport more than just themselves.
Yeah. I definitely think that it's got a lot more traction, and you're very right in kind of what you're saying there, where the image is kind of getting... It's the thing of everyone's getting a lot leaner, everyone looks a lot more physically impressive. There is this huge influence around social media now that people should be pushing out their own content on YouTube channels and self-publicizing, and everyone's kind of becoming their own kind of like micro celebrity online anyways. So then when they all come together, You know, I'm sure that there are a lot of people that only watch people's YouTube channels and don't
Yeah,
ever
just don't, mate.
necessarily get around to
Yeah,
watching a show in real life. And it's like
yeah,
it's so fascinating that's kind of where we're at now.
yeah. I just think, yeah, big arena shows like what Giants Live are doing is where it needs to go for the sport to get bigger and better.
So
I think there should be some sort of federation, not as many as what powerlifting has, like maybe one, maybe two, but because you go to comps and they're all vastly different. If you go to one intermediate comp and you go to another intermediate comp, the weights are completely different. You go to an open comp and they got the same weights as the novice comp, and you just like, there's no direct um, on paper, this is the weights from this bracket to this bracket of what needs to be in an opens comp and what needs to be in a novice comp.
yeah,
And there needs to be some sort of thing so you don't get those people who live in novice comps. Not it's difficult because some people don't ever progress past novice comps in their abilities, so they should stay there. But there needs to be, if you win one or two comps, you have to move on, you have to get out. You hear stories, don't you, about people living in those novice comps and
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
there
yeah.
needs to be some sort of ranking. So, like, not like a UK ranking where you see who's the best, but I don't know. For example, in kayaking, you get stars. So if you're a 3-star, that means you can do this. If you're 1-star, you can do that. If you're 5-star, you can do that.
Yeah, almost like getting
So
like a cap for your country in like an
yeah,
international thing. So like getting your cap at Europe's or something like that. That would be that's a very very interesting concept. So this is really really interesting. So for someone who I I've left intermediates this year, and next year is my first year at Opens with a view
okay.
to continue on to kind of get into qualifiers to be where you are. That's kind of my dream and that's my end goal. Um, how do you think the system should work in terms of the feeder system for getting people onto those circuits? How does it currently work now, and do you think that's the best way? Because I know there can sometimes be a lot of influence with politics and stuff involved with kind of these things.
So an open comp, meaning I don't know, Joe Bloggs down the road just put on a comp and he opened the everyone. Open comp. It's down to the guy who's running it to let a promoter to allow people in or to decline people because they are over. They shouldn't be in that category. That can't be how it runs. What it needs to be run is what you've done in the past, and it needs to be on some sort of paper of why you should be there. So you don't get someone who's of world standard going to, I don't know, Shropshire's Strongest Man and just destroying everyone and
Yeah,
killing their
yeah. You
hopes.
get like Terry Hollands like rocks up to like your local
Yeah,
comp and then just
yeah,
shits over everyone in the opens
yeah.
competition, and that person
Drops
that
the
is
mic and goes
second on the
home.
podium has been working towards this competition for the last 3 years of
For a
their life.
year. Yeah. That's what you want to try to avoid. That's where like some sort of federation would go. But there, some companies are doing it, but only at the higher level. So Ultimate Strongman, top 4 in Wales, no, top 3 in Wales, top 3 in Scotland, and top 4 in UK's go to UK Strongest Man, and then from there you're on Glenn's radar, and if he approves of you, and he feels you earn it, you go do other comps like the World Teams or what's the other one called, Summer Mania. You do things like that. So that's one way, but that's at an upper level. And then you got Giants Live. So again, Scotland's Strongest Man, Wales Strongest Man. I don't think they used the England one, but they pick some people from England who
Because
they do.
Britain's is like the first comp of the year, isn't it? So it's like super
Yeah,
super early on in the season.
yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense.
But So you go to Britain's, and then from there, that's a thing for Worlds. But then again, you're already on their radar. So if they feel you deserve to go to Europe's or you deserve to go and do the World Tour, then naturally do that. But
So are
again,
you
that's
saying that you would like to see that the way that you get onto, let's say, a Giants Live competition is it's okay if you have achieved this, if you have won this competition, or you have pulled this, pressed this, done X, Y, and Z, then you automatically qualify. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I think at the top level, so being the especially for a comp called Britain's and UK's, being the top of your country, that needs to be there. But further down, if you had like some sort of like say like yeah, a ranking system.
Yeah, like a
To,
seeding, like yeah, how many comps have you done? How many points have you averaged, etc., etc.
and
Yeah.
then that means you're then invited to England's strongest man, or you're invited to Scotland's strongest man, or Wales' strongest man, Ireland's strongest man. You that's how I feel you should get there. Because at the moment, Wales is just open to anyone who wants to sign into it, and Scotland they have a qualifier. I think they have like 30 people each time through Scotland's strongest man qualifier,
That's a
and then
big comp for a qualifier. Jesus.
you have the same again for the actual comp. It's a lot of people. So
That's
if you had
madness.
some sort of ranking system to get there, then the comp would be smaller, yeah, but it will be a better
It'd be a
show.
true reflection of the ability that is out there in the strongman market. That's interesting. So let me ask you this then. So do you think that there are people that are out there in the strongman world that aren't being given the opportunity that they deserve to step up onto these international circuits? And if so, why?
Um, I'm going to say yes, because there's a lot of strong people there who I know personally who either flaked out at the qualifier or not able to do it, or just
Through
for some reason,
injury or previous commitments and stuff like that, yeah.
um, or they haven't been seen to be a wild card. But at the same time, there's some people who do that. Sounds really bad, but there's some people who just not good for TV.
So
Like,
is this your very subtle way of reflecting on weight again and image?
yeah, so it is a very image thing, because what grows the sport, well, what brings money into the sport is TV. And if you have no personality or you got a face for radio, I'm sorry, and it's very very bad that
Yeah, let's face it, a strongman traditionally is not a pretty boy sport. It's usually big, fucking, hairy men lifting big ass weights,
yeah,
making a whole bunch of noise and screaming. That's it.
that if you're not, look at who I tell you who I like watching is Luke Stoltman. Not his not his gym ability or it's just the way he comes across when he talks. He's funny, he's charming, and he's just like he's awesome on TV. Like, so even if he doesn't do well in the comp, he'll get picked to go on TV because he's going to sell the sport. And at this point in strongman, you need someone like that to
You need
make the
these
fans.
personalities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's more personality than look. Like 100%, it's much more personality than look. But you need it. Like, look at Eddie. Look how much he's changed the sport. Like, just by being a big personality that people either hated, loved. But if you hated him, you watched him because you wanted to see him fail. If you loved him, you watched him, you loved him. And then now he's not necessarily competing. He's lovely, isn't he? He's like a different
Yeah, he
personality.
doesn't need to be an arsehole, so he just isn't. He's just him lovely
He's
self.
in your face personality. So, and he's grown the sport like amazingly. Like
Well,
I
you've
know
got to
this.
look at him because he's leading from the front, obviously, with people will obviously know that Eddie went through a dramatic weight loss post his incredible success with Worlds and retaining his titles and stuff, that he decided that it was kind of better for his health. And I think probably anyone that has ever seen that very classic photo of Eddie holding the fan on himself when he's like at his heaviest, you go, yeah, there's no way that any human being should ever get to that size, because they just look so uncomfortable. And he did incredible. He's looking mad. I remember everyone's going, oh my god, have you seen Eddie Hall? He has abs. It's like, yeah, guys, everyone has those. It's just it depends how much fat it's under.
Strong as fuck. It's abs when he was 30. You just said, just not in a t-shirt. Yeah, but I do think as much as I'm going on about how you should be able to qualify for stuff, there is a huge thing about people being good for the sport that should be invited, because the sport needs to grow, and for the sport to grow, you need these characters. Like someone pointed out, and at the time it upset me. It still does a bit. If I was at my level but playing darts, I'll be well off. I'll be loaded. I'll be playing darts. I'll be in a massive house, lovely car.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's kind of. I think it's such a bizarre mix, because I feel like strongman is still one of the very last decently sized sports where you have people that could be fucking plumbers or engineers or like a Sparky or whatever. Yeah, like, and then it's like, oh yeah, but also in my spare time, I'm also literally one of the strongest men on the fucking planet. And you're like, wait, what? Can you put your screwdriver down and let's have a chat over a cup of tea? Like, this is so strange.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. Like, I'm not on the same level as like, Lawrence Charlet or Mark Felix or stuff like that. Like they've been there, they lived there, and I'm got my foot in that door. I'm ready to go through. But
yeah, you're earning your place there.
Oh yeah, but like that's one competition. They've been there, I don't know how many years, doing it as a thing. And Mark Felix is still a plasterer. Like he should be. You know what I mean? It's I go to work full time and I finish, and it's only been the last 2 years that I was just like, I'm gonna fucking go for it. So I've just been busting my balls for the last 2 years. Before it was just like a hobby, and I was able to cope with it. And now I'm tired all the time. I'm grouchy because I can just see like this little dot where I'm like, I'm gonna succeed. I'm gonna do like a Tom Stoltman and become a full timer.
So, dude, how on earth do you balance that? Like that, it's crazy. I don't understand how. Because, I mean, so I do a bit of personal training and I'm a sports massage therapist. My job, I mean, PT is not a manual job. Sports massage is a little bit, but it's not too bad. And there are some days where I'm like, oh man, I feel a little bit stiff. I feel a little bit janky trying to get into the session. I can't fucking imagine what you feel like after a full day of plastering and then being like, hey, let's go and hit some 90% 1RM on squats tonight.
So I work on a builder's bedroom yard, so I just throw stuff around all day. So it is quite taxing what I do. But it's I don't know, like you just get on the go with it. When you rest, that's when you hurt. So
just don't stop swimming. That's it. Like Dory from Finding Nemo. Just don't stop swimming, man. That's crazy. Yeah. So how do you go down the avenue of becoming a full-timer? Is this something that's kind of, it's all back with like ad revenue with YouTube and getting merch that you can sell on Instagram and kind of these traditional ways that people are doing it? Or are you getting paid through these companies? How does it work?
I think at the moment the only way to do it is find a big company to support you.
As a sponsorship deal, you mean?
As a sponsorship deal. Or do it yourself with training, diet plans, selling t-shirts and stuff like that. Like, you're not going to make big money, and it still takes a lot of your time. So unless you want to do it properly, you got to look for sponsorship. But I think the trick is either be top of your game or um, or get loads of little sponsors. So if one pulls out, you're not homeless.
Yeah, 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 100%. So, in terms of sponsorship, how hard is sponsorship to come by in the field of strongman?
um, you get it's, it's quite easy to find free stuff, but try and get money out of people. That's blood from the stone type technique. So um, I'm hoping that now I got my invite to Worlds, and there hasn't been a guy representing Wales since 1995, since Gary
It's a
Taylor.
big deal.
I'm hoping some local Welsh company is going to get patriotic and get behind me. Because if I can be jobless from now until Worlds, I could put in a good stint. I think come back with at least a final, and then with that, I would have got my place for next year. So it sets up my year nicely.
So, have you been working up to your previous competitions? Like, have you taken time off of your work? Do you have to kind of take a break from that to give your body the time to recover, or are you literally like, oh, I'm on site with the lads on Friday. I'm competing
I
over
think
in wherever on Sunday. Like,
I finished Europe's Strongest Man, Europe's championship. So, next day I was in work at 6 in the morning. And then I finished World's Strongest Man tour, and I had one day off before I went to back to work. So that was nice. Yeah.
how are you still here, man? What's your kind of like prehab
Towards the end,
rehab?
good. That's why I'm still here.
I was gonna say, like, you've been pretty good with injuries, and it sounds like you have like super physical job, and then obviously you do probably one of the most physically central nervous system taxing sports there is known to mankind. What do you do? Do you do any treatments? Do you do hot cold stuff? Do you get physio, chiro? What do you do?
I live in the middle of butterfuck nowhere. I live
You're
in the
like, I
stick.
throw myself over this giant rock and crack my back out every fortnight, and that's about it.
Jump in the river. No, on it like um, I go for a massage now and then. And that's about it, really. Like, yeah,
Holy shit, that's
mate.
crazy.
Like, yeah, you have to travel like half an hour to do some form of treatment.
Have you ever thought about not living in the arsehole of nowhere?
Well,
Like
I
maybe
should have
like
thought of that
another logical
beforehand.
human being, like live just nearby someone, just or even next to someone that could just do something for you.
Yeah, just find out who's next door. You can do treatment. Yeah.
That is absolutely crazy. So, what is kind of the plan going forward for you? So, is it a case are you going to have to now go forth and re-qualify for some of these competitions coming into 2020 with your recent successes? Do you just basically auto qualify for these things? Do you know
So
that you're going to get the invites?
from that last event, the World Tour, that qualified me for World Strongest Man. The event I'm going to at the end of this month is the World Championship. If I come away with the win on that, that will qualify me for WUS, or World Ultimate Strongman. Um, so that would be nice. Wales, um, it's just an open comp, and then Britain's already qualified that from last year's Worlds. So
That's crazy. So are you just working towards those four? Is that your sight for next year? How do you plan your
I
year out with that?
after chatting with Eddie, straight after Worlds, he said, train for Worlds. Don't worry about the other. Go and do them. Go do your best at them. But you're training for Worlds. So work on your fitness because it's a 3-day comp. You could kind of work out what the events are by looking last year. So if you look, it's a truck pull. Like what he said, like if you look, what did last year? It's a squat. So the next year will be
The
a
deadlift.
deadlift. So you can work stuff out like that, and then you can kind of train towards it until they release it. They don't release it until nearer the time.
Yeah,
So
a lot
you kind of
nearer the time.
yeah, but you can kind of work it out. kind of. So I'll be training towards Worlds, and then I'll go to Britain's and give it my best. Um, and then I'll go to Wales and hopefully keep my title. But Wales is all dependent on how close Worlds is to Wales. So if Worlds decides to be within a month away, then I'll go and be a ref at Wales Strongest Man. But if it's further than a month, then I think
and how does that work? Are they kind of cool with the fact that you can't go ahead and do that? And if so you just basically just renounce your title regardless because you're not there, or how does that kind of work?
I don't think the person who would have won it would like it, but it's what I would have to do. If it's too close to Worlds, it's what I have to do. But hopefully I can do both because I quite like being Wales Strongest Man. Yeah.
Has a pretty nice ring to it, man. Yeah. 100%. That's crazy, man. That's awesome. So, in regards to kind of your training ramping up to that, obviously you've already peaked quite heavily this year with kind of your training and your maxes and stuff. Are you now kind of in a back off phase? Are you still kind of are you always constantly keeping it comp weight level? Like, how do you do it? How do you control it?
I work up. So my reps will go up and then my weights will come down. And then, so it works a bit like a pyramid. So I work up to heavy, I drop down to light, work up to heavy, drop down to light. So I'm always giving my body some form of rest. And then I listen to my body. So last night, we done deadlifts. And I'm like, boys, I'm fucked. And they're like, good, we're fucked too. I'm like, let's just do some speed pulls. So we've done speed pulls, and I feel great today because it was kind of like a rest. You're still working hard, but you're not lifting any form of heavy weight, so your body is quite relaxed.
Yeah, it's nice, just like auto-regulating, like how you feel from day to day stepping into the gym. So do you do that usually?
Just I listen to my body when I need to. I let myself rest, even if it's a session. So even if I miss a heavy session, you got to listen to your body. So you got to make sure you're well rested. And otherwise, you're just going to injure yourself or fuck your central nervous system, and then you'll be out for a while anyway. So.
Yeah, 100%. So I won't keep you too much longer. I just want to finish off, as I always do. I always ask a question at the end of every podcast because I'm always interested to hear what people have to say. So I want you to imagine, just for a split second, that you're now stepping back in time and you're kind of going back to visit your past self, kind of 10, 11, 12 years old, and you get to step back in time and you get to leave your younger self with 1 ounce of wisdom, of knowledge of how to keep yourself going and kind of going through to where you've got yourself through to today. What do you tell your younger self to make sure that you get to where you are today?
Just enjoy the ride, really. Like, everything I've done, I wouldn't change a thing of what I've done. So just enjoy it. Go. Don't try and please anyone. Just please yourself. Just make sure you're happy, and that's all that counts.
I love that, man. Yeah, 100%. If you're content in yourself, then it doesn't really matter about anything else, does it?
No, exactly. All the way through your life.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I wish you all the best for your future. I'm keeping a super close eye on you, man, and I really hope you go out and you fucking smash it next year, man.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Have a good one. Take care.